Good morning, Jim Morgan. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. Paddy, how are you?
Very well,
how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Long time no talk.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was away for a while, and I haven't been calling the open lines, but I've been listening as much as I can to what you've been saying and what's going on in Newfoundland over the last little while in particular. So I figured I'd pick up the phone this morning and give you a call as to my views, at least, as to what is happening. And some of it is really amazing to me. As a former politician and a former minister of the Crown, etc., that I can't understand what really is going on. First of all, I want to comment on that finally I understand from the media I've been following up on that there's going to be overruns on the Muskrat Falls power project.
Of course.
So says, yeah, that's right. Of course there will be. So says now Mr. Ed Martin of Nalcor, the head honcho there. Well, that's everybody that I've been talking to and dealing with over the last number of months. I was expecting that. So there's going to be overruns, but Mr. Martin says, we don't know how much, which to me is amazing at this time now with so much money been spent to date. We don't know. Nalcor don't know. Well, one thing we do know, our province is going backwards. When I saw the results, and I was away at the time, of the budget process this year, when here we are going to borrow $1 billion, going back in debt by $1 billion, and have to allocate of that, or some source of the budget, $500 million to Nalcor to continue on with the Muskrat Falls. Now, the federal government, of course, as you know and we all know, is only guaranteeing $5 billion of that total cost down there. And estimates now, nothing confirmed by Nalcor, but estimates are as high as $9 billion by the time it's completed. And, and there's still no facts supplied to the ratepayers and taxpayers with regards to the spendings on the project. We saw one announcement not too long ago, a few days ago, in fact, where they spent $23 million on a road, and he spent $83 million on the excavation work. That's all we've heard.
Yeah, I mean, so far as the guesstimates on numbers, I mean, I don't know what it's going to come in at. I have no idea. When you say $9 billion, are you talking about $9 billion more than the 6.2 we're in for, or is it $9 billion as opposed to the 7.7?
No, I'm talking about right now the information I've gathered. It comes to $9 billion. That includes the total cost of the project. Now, and which is not only $5 billion of that is going to be guaranteed by the federal government.
And the guarantee only goes so far as securing the low interest rate, as opposed to, I mean, the guarantee when the government has the right to do whatever they want with your hydro bill and to collect taxes, then of course the guarantee may never fall to default where the federal government's got involved. So it's really, are you talking about just securing the low interest rate for the ability to borrow more money if required?
Well, I mean, more money going to be borrowed. Where are we going to get it here? We got to go up to $9 billion. The money is done now this year being allocated from the Newfoundland taxpayers through the budget, and they're going to be more. I mean, the $5 billion is not going to cover it all, so we know that. That's common knowledge. So the fact is now, we know, and it's been confirmed, that the power purchase agreement, which was referred to recently by a damn good article in the front page of the Telegram written by Mr. Wengerski, and I followed up on some information prior to that as well. The power purchase agreement between the producer of the power, in this case Nalcor, and Hydro, with the same common shareholders, or not shareholders, same common management people on the board of directors of these two companies, working out a deal on the power purchase agreement which ratepayers of the province will have to pay off this project. And it's all on the cost of the ratepayers. You know that, Paddy.
Yeah.
So it's coming down to the point now that they know. Nalcor is fully aware of what is expected to be paid by the ratepayers because the power purchase agreement has been finalized, maybe still being worked on a bit, but has been practically finalized between the two parties, and as I said, managed by the same common share, the board of directors. Now, this is a scandalous affair, because if they know what the power purchase agreement cost is going to be to the Newfoundland taxpayers, Tell us now.
Yeah, I don't know if we know what the costs are. We should be awful close to knowing if we don't know exactly. And so the rates will be based on final costs. I understand how all that will work. But curious when you point to the overall final costs and how much more they'll be from the scheduled $6.2 billion. That was our obligation to Muskrat Falls. I spoke to the Premier here on the show, Premier Marshall, and we talked about how they put forward the rationale for Muskrat Falls as being the least cost option based on a $2.5 billion difference to things they had evaluated. If the costs arrive at clearing that number where there is a reason for pause, Marshall said that the government will and has no choice but to revisit how they approach this expenditure, because if it's no longer the least cost option, which was their only selling point for it, then he says, and agreed with my assertion, that if it approaches more than $2.5 billion on the bill, then it's got to be time to have another look. He said it was the right thing to do. So I guess we'll wait and see when we get the numbers.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, see. I mean, I have to give it to Russell Wengerski. He's a good reporter. I think you agree on that. That front-page story a few days ago on the Telegram, a front-page story, tell us the truth. And that's what I've been saying, a number of others over the last number of months or the last couple of years. Tell us what's going on. Tell us the facts. And right now, they're not telling us the truth, and it's time for us to know about the cost it's going to cost for us on electricity bill when the total cost is put together, and we have to pay the total cost. Now, that's what is being hidden from us right now, and I'll tell you right now, from my perspective, there'll be nothing made public to the people of this province, the ratepayers, on how much the electricity bill is going to be costing us in this province. And that's a big, important issue until after the next election. The election is about a year and a half away, and that's sad.
Oh, we're going to have numbers before that, though. We're going to have numbers well before that. I mean, even when, whether or not people believe Mr. Martin and Bennett from Nalcor, they say with these upcoming quarterly reports, not only the benefits agreement, number of people employed, blah, 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 they say they'll have the numbers released, and that was supposed to be a short while ago. It hasn't happened yet, so the first real look at the numbers after the contracts have been let, or they've come to final determination how much the contracts will be valued. We'll get a look at that well before there's any general election, and we deserve it, we should get it, and we'll make sure we keep questioning them until they do. So we're going to get it way before we go to the polls.
That's important. People like yourself, I mean, you've got a strong position there, a very popular show, etc. You in particular can put a lot of pressure on. We must know. The taxpayers and the ratepayers must know now within a number of months. They must have it figured out by now. Tell us, as Russell Wengerski said, and I don't talk to him at all. I'm not involved with him. He's a good reporter. But as he said, tell us the truth. A big headline. Front page of our daily paper. Tell us the truth about Muskrat Falls. And that's what's really bothering me. And we now have a man coming in to take over the government as Premier. Above all, take over as Premier, when all the members we had in the House of Assembly and the ministers, some of them very competent people, not one of them would run. And I'm saying today quite clearly in my mind, because of the influence of people involved in Muskrat Falls. One of them being the former Premier. He's the man that announced this project, and now he wanted this man who was a big important man with Emera, Newfoundland Emera Company, which is a partner. The partner of the Muskrat Falls, Nalcor and Emera. Now he wants to become Premier. Of course, he had to resign his position from Emera, the Newfoundland Nova Scotian company, but it's all influenced by people behind the scenes making money at Muskrat Falls. There's no question about my view on it. And I'm saying Mr. Coleman may be a fine gentleman. I don't know him. I'm not going to criticize him. But he was working at a position which is very influential on the whole overall Labrador Power Project.
Yeah, no, he was intimately involved. Mr. Coleman was here speaking of those issues as well. He declared that Emera was an important and a valuable partner in it. Many people have questions about that, given the fact that power will be so much cheaper in Nova Scotia than here, which also refutes some of the assertions that there's no market. But we do have a market, and we've got to secure, unfortunately, for a lot of the power for far less than I'll pay for it. But so far as Mr. Coleman goes, and influence of others outside the party, is that any different, Jim, from back in your day? Because, I mean, there's been stories told about leadership conventions, even when you were a minister, and your willingness to back one candidate or the other. Has anything actually really changed there? I think we may have exaggerated that stuff.
It's a big change. We're hearing from someone now who got no competition, and taking over the PC government in maybe a month's time, a month and a half from now, and going on to be premier in an election campaign. And I don't know where his support is, but I guess obviously the members of the House of Assembly got behind him because they were more or less told to do it. Now, so they're going to bring in Mr. Comey. He's a fine gentleman. I heard about him in his business, through his business, I guess I can say, and he's a fine man. But the fact that he is a novice politician, coming in at a time when we have to borrow $1 billion a year to keep the budget going, and I can go on with the kind of problems we have right now in this province. Yeah. I don't think he's the right man for that. What's wrong with the experienced people in government? Have they been told don't run?
Yeah, but whose fault is that? Is that their fault or is that Coleman and Danny's fault? I mean, to me, the fact Coleman is going unchallenged, I mean, Mr. Bennett was removed from the race. Mr. Barry decided to drop out, because he said his perception was that he had no legitimate chance to win. But whose fault is that? Is it the thin-skinned, those members of the current caucus, or is it Coleman's fault and Danny's fault? I'm not so sure. I'd spread that blame around, personally.
Yeah, well, maybe we can spread it around, but I mean, of course, the fact that bothers me is we have a number of very competent people in the House of Assembly on the government side. They just sit by and let the government, or not the government, the second government, Nalcor, do as they please on the Muskrat Falls project, and there wasn't one peep from one member, not a peep. And I'm saying today, in my own viewpoint, that they deserve to go down the drain. They let the government do as they wanted with Nalcor. Nalcor to carry on, spend, and spend more if they need it. And, I mean, there's no question in my mind that money will flow freely for the next couple of years, but it's our money, the taxpayers' monies.
But sure, on that front, Jim, the Liberals look like they're poised to take government, and Mr. Balla said that they're going to move on from the project itself to oversight and management, so the Liberals are on side with Muskrat Falls, sure.
Well, I don't know if they are or not. He left the impression when he was running for leadership he wasn't supporting Muskrat Falls. I don't know where Mr. Ball stands. I'm not involved with Mr. Ball at all.
Yeah, no, me neither. But I mean, he's made his own statements. I can only go by what the man says.
Okay, well, yeah, you're on top of it. You understand the information when it comes out. But I don't know where really he stands on Muskrat Falls. A majority of Newfoundlanders don't know either. But if he believes in spend on a project which is ill-advised and not carried out properly, a secretive operation in Labrador, if he agrees to go along with it, as now been going on so far, he's making a wrong move.
I don't want to mischaracterize what he said. He said that belaboring the point that there's some way to actually physically stop the project is not his focus anymore. His focus will be on the oversight and management of the project to ensure that we're as careful as we can be and above board as we can be. So it remains to be seen. Quick question though, Jim, before I really got to go.
Yeah, okay, sure.
The oversight committee that is put forward by government, many people don't have much faith in it because it'll be staffed by bureaucrats. Unlike the Bill 29 review, which has 3 credible people, their reputation above and beyond reproach. What about this oversight that the government's putting forward at Muskrat Falls? Any faith in that?
Well, the main oversight should be, I've always said this, is the Auditor General. The Auditor General audits all spendings of the government except for Muskrat Falls.
But he's allowed to. He can get in there.
I read over the legislation passed in the House of Assembly a number of years back when they set up the legislation governing Nalcor. He hasn't got the right. I've talked to the first man I talked to was the man who went and ran as a PCE candidate.
Mr. Noseworthy.
Yeah. And he said, no, we can't go in and do as we please and do all the books. We can't do it. I talked to Mr. Padden, and not too long ago before I went away on a trip, and he told me the same thing. Only if something is majorly wrong and we're called upon to go in, like they're called upon to go in now on this paving contract over in the West Coast, only if the government wants to ask me to go in and take a look, will I go in, and even then, his report is only for the cabinet, not for the public. So it's still a hidden process. The Muskrat Falls has always been a little secretive project, which everything is kept hidden, and now the cost to the ratepayers, which I'm sure they know by now, is going to be kept from the ratepayers, Paddy, until after the next election.
I certainly hope it's not. And Ed Martin says it won't be, and the Premier said the Auditor General can indeed go into Nalcor. So there's an awful lot of grey area in all this stuff, and that's the unfortunate reality here is we don't have enough clarity on it, whether it be for the government's protection of their own political fortunes or, most importantly, the protection of me as the ratepayer. Jim, I'm really late going to the break, but I'm glad you called.
Okay, so thanks for your time, and keep up the good work you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.